it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. Today, I have Nina with me, and we are talking about strength, resilience in March, the things to empower a mom. And we have interesting perspectives between the two of us. Between the two of us, we are kind of every kind of mother that you could possibly be. I'm a birth mom, a divorced mom, and an abandoned pregnant mom. And she is a foster mom and an adoptive mom. So we've kind of got every kind of mom here, every perspective that we're going to bring to you today on this subject. And I'm excited to get started. Nina, thank you for being here. Please tell us more about you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here. When I introduce myself, there's a lot of things that I could say, but to be honest with you, what I identify most with is being a mom. As they say, I am in my mom era right now. And as you mentioned, I am an adoptive mom. I'm a foster mom. I'm a single mom. I'm a mom to children that don't have my same skin color. So there's lots of things going on in our house, and it's absolutely beautiful. And so I'm just happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. I love this perspective because I really want the Resilient Mother podcast to be a place where all moms feel welcome and they feel like they can find someone that they resonate with and walk away with some kind of inspiration, tip, strategy that can enrich their lives and help them to be resilient. And today we're talking about strength. So with those two things, I'd love to hear how you define resilience and strength and how you feel they work together.
Yeah. So when I think about resilience, I think about this idea of the bounce back. You know, something traumatic occurs and you bounce back. That's kind of what I've been taught. But as I have actually walked through this thing of life, I'm thinking, you know, sometimes it's not always the bounce back, but it's how you bounce back. And when you bounce back, are you open to that healing that needs to take place? And I say that because a lot of times the way that I respond to trauma is to kind of disassociate and I'll just move on to the next thing. And it looks like resilience, right? It looks like, oh, wow, that happened. She just bounced back. And that's not actually true. I had a friend once say to me, you know, hey, something you said, it kind of came out sideways. And I was like, what does that mean? And what they were saying was that I was treating people as if they were the ones that caused the trauma that I had not dealt with. Because when you don't deal with it, it comes out sideways in other situations at other people. And so to me, resilience is really saying, you know what, this happened. How do I heal from this? What steps do I need to take? And so
there's a saying that you make me think of about if you don't heal, you're going to bleed on people who didn't cause the wound.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, especially as women, there's this idea that we are strong if we just bounce back. Like nothing happened. Wow, we can't even tell you went through that. Wow, I can't believe you're doing this now. And it's just like, we just go to the next thing, put a smile on our face, and we give off this like strong, like this is who I am. I'm a strong woman. And strong is saying, you know what? I'm hurting.
Admitting you're not okay.
Yeah.
And saying it.
I need some help here. That's strong. And so when I think about, and you may get to this, but when I think about strength and motherhood, I think that being a mom, period, like just the physical aspect of having a baby takes physical strength, right? And then there's another level of strength that it takes to actually raise a child. And then from my perspective, I'm like, there's a strength that comes from raising a child as your own, that is not yours, that does not look like you. That comes from another bucket of strength, right? And
I think you're talking about the strength of love.
Yes.
Because that is universal and more powerful than any force on earth. And a mother's love. A mother's love. A mother will do anything for her child. Anything for her child. Yes. And that includes the child you take on as your own.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because people would often ask me in my journey, well, did you love them when they first came? And, just different things like that. My kids came to me when they were 1 and 3 years old, and now they're 6 and 8, just adopted them in October.
Congratulations.
But to me, I loved them actually before I even knew that they were coming to me, because to me, love is actually a commitment. Love is more than a feeling. Yes. Love is saying, I'm committed to do life with you, period. Okay. And so even before they came to me, I made a commitment. And so I got out of my rental. I purchased a home with these children in mind that I hadn't met, because I had committed to love with my whole heart. So before they came, the love was already there. And that might be hard for some people, but because of the way that I see love, that it is a choice, it is a commitment. I love them before they came. And of course, I love them now.
And that makes me think of God's love. I mean, it's the purest love. It's the unconditional love. And once you know God's love, you just want to give it to everyone else. Once you're full with it, you don't want to contain it. You want to give it away. And I think that's a concept I wish more people would grab onto today, is that giving is receiving, and it can be this beautiful syncrasy of building and bringing more light and more love and more truth and more goodness into the world. And it's not something we need to be scared of. Yes, you can love and get hurt. Yeah, that definitely happens. I agree. And love sometimes can be hard. It's hard to give tough love to a child that's talking back to you, or that things aren't going the way that they need to go. But love is still the most powerful force on earth, and God is the strength of that kind of love. Because when you don't feel like you can quite give it yourself, or you don't know how to handle a situation, he does. He's the foundation. He's that strong foundation of strength and resilience and unconditional, powerful love.
Amen. Having my children the way that I have had them through foster care and adoption, the way that I see God's love for me, it's richer, because I see children who I loved them before they even knew me. I made that choice before, and there's nothing that my children can do that would take my love away from them, because they're my children. They may think that sometimes, they'll get in trouble. Oh, you're mad at me. You hate me. Da, 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 da. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't care if you tear this whole house up. You're my child, period. Nothing's going to change that. So that really just helped me to really receive the love that God has for me, that he already chose me as his child. And there's nothing that I can do. The only thing my kids could do is they would have to choose to walk away from me and say, I never want to see you again. That would be the only thing that could sever the relationship. But just like the prodigal son, I would be waiting for them, so their love, my love for them, all of that has really deepened my understanding of God's love.
And something that we've talked about a couple times, it's come up a lot in the last couple episodes, is just this idea of this child was given to me for a reason. This child is in my life for a reason. And that commitment that you're talking about, I really felt that when the father of my son walked away and left me alone during COVID. I had no choice in a new community but to own this relationship with my child in a way I've never had to before. I've never been in a situation where the father wasn't there. It was weird and almost cruel to experience being married and having children with a man who was there, and then to have a pregnancy and no one was there. It was me and God through most of it with very little help. And it was just this commitment I had to make to my son that I'm going to be the one who gives you that love. I'm going to show up for you. And it has taught me a whole different kind of love. I now really understand the scripture when it says, my beloved son, because I had never had a son before. And it is different. And I feel blessed that I have girls and I have boys and I get to experience both. But that understanding of my only begotten, my only son, it's changed my perspective and brought me closer to God. Being a birth mom, Abraham and Isaac, I understand that relationship in a different way. And these things that I've gone through, I wouldn't wish on anyone else. I really wouldn't. They were very, very difficult things to go through. But yet the depth of love that I have learned through these things has given me this empathy and this understanding of humanity that I would not have gained in any other way. And it's the kind of love I want to instill in my kids. I want them to love without seeing color, without seeing race, without seeing anything, but that we are all in need of this love, this universal power that allows us to embrace our humanity and who we are and to be the best mothers that we can be, to be the best families that we can be, whatever that may look like, that we can reach that potential God intended us to find in the power of love.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned, being without a father. And for me, one of the things that I'm constantly having to be strong for, right, is knowing that my children have birth parents out there. They are alive. They're out there, and knowing that it's still just me with the kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And also knowing that one day as my kids get older, and, my son, he's already started, the wheels are starting to turn. He's like, why didn't my mom, want me?
Yeah.
Why did we have to come live here? And so when we talk about being strong, sometimes it's being strong for our kids in those moments where they're realizing the brokenness of the people around them.
Yeah.
And not tearing down those other people in front of my kids. I think it takes strength to do that, because when I'm exhausted and tired and, my kid is saying something like, oh, this person used to do this and we don't do this. And I want to be like, this person is not around, like this person is not feeding you, and I don't do that. But sometimes I do have to take a moment, and any moms who are listening, it's okay to have those thoughts, have those feelings. I take little timeouts, just like I tell my kids, hey, you might want to go and sit down for a minute, cool off, think about some things. I have to do that too, so that I don't, try to change the narrative that my kids have of those people in their life. They will come to their conclusions as they get older and learn the truth, but I don't want to be the one that says this, and that. And I always tell my kids, because I know this has to be true, your parents loved you the best that they could at that time. They love you in their own way, because the lie that children may grow up with when they don't have a parent, when they don't have a father, when they were put into foster care is, I wasn't loved, I wasn't wanted. That's the lie of the enemy. Okay. We know we're in a broken world. People are dealing with some hard things. Not everyone has support. We talked about that. Not everyone has help. Things happen. But I will just say this about the birth mom of my kids. She's strong too. There might be someone listening, I'm not sure, who is a mom who has lost their child to foster care. Okay. There might be. And so I just want to encourage them, because the birth mom of my kids, she is so strong. The fact that she loved her kids so much and said, you know what? I want to give them a healthier life. I love them enough to let them go somewhere safe, instead of holding on knowing that she didn't have the support she needed. And that just might be for someone. I just want you to know you don't love your child any less if you've made a choice to put them in a safer situation. Okay. So there's strength there, and there's strength in me and birth mom. We have a relationship. We actually encourage each other. Like, I don't allow anyone to say anything about her. She sends me encouraging messages. Like, it's hard, but we're being strong together.
And I think that speaks to the power of love, because you love her and you recognize her love for her children.
Yes.
And that is the power that can really change the world, because it gets rid of all the bias and the prejudices and the stereotyping. And it just allows people to be where they are at on their journey and loving them through it. And then they get to choose. But if someone doesn't love them and give the opportunity for them to believe in themselves, or that they matter, or that they have value, how are they going to get there?
Yeah.
How is anyone going to get there? And it's so interesting listening to you as a birth mom myself, because I actually originally wanted an open adoption so that kind of relationship could happen, and it didn't. And so I really have to have faith in, I can love and pray for my child, even though I didn't get to be involved in the way that I wanted to. I had some mental health issues, and people chose to intervene in a way that was not what I would have chosen. I would have kept the adoption open the way that it was. And I know everyone did their best with what they knew at the time, but I never wanted to fully be out of the child's life. And then I was put there, whether I wanted to be or not. And it was really hurtful because family members were involved in that tactic.
Wow.
And I think they think they're protecting me from things, but I still am finding out the truth later. I would have rather known at the time and understood what my role could be and how I could help or not help. And maybe that meant I wasn't there. And so I have to, from my perspective, know that I did what I did in love, and I have to give the rest to God. And I just have to know that my love at the time wasn't.
Yes. And we say all the time, it takes a village, right? But for some reason, we have in our minds that the village has to be a certain way. Sometimes the village means a birth mom and an adoptive mom working together. It could be that. And so I say that because I think, as you said, there is so much shame, when you have to give a child up. But I don't think it has to be, and I'm not going to tell the birth mom story. That's her story to share. But I think I can say that what was needed was a better support system, and lack of shame. Hey, you can send your kids here. It's okay. And while they're here, we're going to work on these things, and then this can happen, But when someone feels beat down, feel like they're already a bad mom, you know what I mean? And can I just say, if you're being a mom, period, do not listen to the lie that you're a bad mom. None of us are perfect. Literally, God knew that when he entrusted us with these children. One thing that I try to make sure that I do with my children, no matter what, I always ask my children for forgiveness and apologize if I mess up. That's not something that I'll say this, the generation that I grew up in, then the culture that I grew up in, you're not going to hear an apology for nothing, okay? So what that did to me, though, and I didn't realize this until I was an adult, it made me think that everything was my fault. So even as an adult, I found myself taking responsibility for a lot of things because as a child, something would happen. I knew it would be off, but no one would apologize. So then I say, oh, it must be my fault. It must have been me. So that really messed with me. I needed therapy.
So in my experience, I love what you're saying, because I don't think people who judge, and I know we judge to be safe often. How's that affecting the child? When we're so harsh on moms, they're just trying to do what's best for their child and love them. And they're not going to do it perfectly. No one's life is this Pinterest perfect picture that is put out into the world. And please, please do not compare yourself. Every situation is different. I recently just watched a movie that was about different perspectives of, like, what if your life had turned out this way and this way and this way and this way and this way? In the end, what would you choose? And it was interesting because in the end, they chose the simple life that let them be with their family. And I thought that was so powerful, because in a world today that tries to give us so many options and so many versions of what a mom should look like, And what does a birth mom mean? And what does a foster mom mean? And what does that look like? And we see these extremes in movies, which, okay, it's good to know in some cases the true stories and that they overcame things, but also there's a lot of trauma around that. And with trauma comes a lot of fear and misunderstanding and judgment. Instead of, that's one situation. That's just one situation. There are many, 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 many different versions of motherhood as this podcast embraces. There's many different versions of childhood. You can take one child and put them in the same situation and have two completely different outcomes because you have individuals involved in every situation. And there is responsibility on the parent. I'm not saying let's not put responsibility on the parent. Yes, they need to be responsible and they need to show up and be the parent. But what is the consequence when we shame a mother and put guilt on a mother or a child or a father? What does that accomplish? It passes on to that child. How is that helpful? And so what you're saying, I love so much more because that's empowering. And I've experienced both sides. I've experienced people that simply, I have to go, they don't understand. I am the lesson for them. I'm giving them the opportunity to grow. And then I have other people that I meet, especially on this podcast, who inspire me. And I'm like, look at you go. Look at what's possible. Oh, yeah, let's more of that, please. And so I think it's a choice every day. But I think we have to be really reserved in my experience and what I've gone through. I used to be so conservative and I just was so sheltered from the world. I just didn't know any better. And now after going everything that I've gone through, I can't judge. That's not helpful. Judge less, love more. It's a much more peaceful way to live, I will say, and a much more empowering for everyone that is involved. And so we were talking about a little bit before we started about just, I cannot believe the amount of pressure that's put on a mom today. It's not realistic and it's not fair. And whatever your strength looks like as a mom, embrace it. You know, if you're a woman of faith and God's your strength, great. If your strength in being a single mom, that's your situation, single mom. If you're in a traditional family, nothing against traditional families. I'm all for it. I wanted that too. Just not my story and not my children's story. And that's how it is.
Well, I wanted to mention, you were talking about comparison, and there's this idea of wanting to be a good mom. I had to release that. I don't want to be a good mom. I want to be a godly mom.
Oh, yes.
I want to be a godly mom. Being a good mom, the definition of a good mom changes every day depending on whose page you're on. You're a good mom if you do this to your kids. You're a good mom if you don't feed your kids red dye. You're a good mom if you let your kids eat the Cheetos because you're letting them have, their childhood. I mean, I was overwhelmed when I became a mom, all the information out there. And I'm like, you know what? Y'all don't even know what a good mom is. I'm going to stop trying to meet that measure that changes every day. And I just want to be a godly mom. And for me, that means praying for my children. Nobody should be praying harder for my children than me. You know, God is entrusting them to me. So I need to be praying for my children. My house might be messy, but I'm not going to forget to pray over my children at night. Amen. Because, a good mom, her house is clean all the time. Nope, sorry. I couldn't meet that standard, but I can be a godly mom. And, so it's praying for your kids, it's speaking life into them, it's raising them up in the way that they should go, teaching them about God. Of course, as they get older, they're going to discover God in their own way, but it's my job to train them up in the way that they should go,
Yes.
And
that comes down to truth. What is their truth? What is their eternal potential and truth? And am I enriching that as a parent? And do I need a clean house to do that? Do I have to have the perfect meals with the perfect carbs and count to do that?
I mean, you can try to do it. And there might be a mom, that might be her strength. Like there are people who are really good at that, but don't get confused and think that that is what makes you a godly mom, or a good mom. Those are strengths that you have. At the end of the day, all of us, whether we're organized, whether we're great cooks, whether we're really good at discipline, whether we're not, at the end of the day, we're all have to lean on the Lord for his strength to teach us.
Yes.
I said to the Lord, Lord, I don't want to read one more article about parenting. I want you to teach me. Your word says you're our teacher. I need you to teach me. And when I did that, I was not overwhelmed. I felt like little by little, and still God downloads something really small each day. So like yesterday, praying to the Lord about being a parent. And God was like, ask your children if you've hurt them recently. And then ask me how to make it right. Okay, done. I can do that. Versus scrolling on all the groups and the pages and all the different things. And it was just too much. And so I said, Lord, you teach me how to be a good mom or godly mom. And that's what he's doing.
I love those divine downloads, I think I like to call them, that you get, because God knows you and he knows your children better than you know yourself. If we are eternal beings and he is our father, he knew us before we came here. He knew what we agreed to when we came here, what your kids agreed to when you came here. And we knew we could do it with him, or why would we be here? And that gives me strength too, because then when something comes up that I don't know how to deal with my child or with a situation, it's like, he already knows. He already has the answer for me. Am I going to accept his will? Am I going to accept his truth? Am I going to do what he needs me to do? Because what he needs me to do will make me better. It will deepen my love. It will make me more empathetic. It will make me more godlike in a sense, if you want to take it that far. But he's the parent of us all. How does he do it? He sees the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, but he loves all of us, no matter what he sees going on in this world. If anyone's going to be that source of truth of how to be a parent, it's going to be him. And so I love that, because that is a source we can all turn to. He's always there with open arms. And other sources may change. Like you said, the world changes every day on what's popular, what's trending, what's important, what's not important. But there are certain eternal truths and principles that are never going to change. And then God can add to it. And I think that's the thing too, when we seek God and truth, is it's line upon line. He gives you a little bit and he sees what you do with it. And if he sees that you're a good steward of it, he's going to give you more. And if he sees you're a good steward of that, he's going to give you more. But if you're not listening and you're not a good steward, or you're not grateful for what you do have, how can he trust to add to you? So it's never him, it's us. Are we opening the door? Are we opening our arms to him? Are we being willing to love him enough to let him love us the way that he wants to? And sometimes he has dreams and he has plans for us that are beyond what we could comprehend right now. And we just have to trust him, because there's more than this life. There's more than what is going on in this moment. But I think the thing we can always come back to that he does is love, as we've discussed earlier.
Yeah. I love that.
This has been a great discussion. I see we're coming close to the end of our time. There'll be a few snippets in here from my son interrupting, which is hilarious. But and so thank you for being here today. I love bringing faith, being able to quote scriptures, being able to really empower mothers of all faiths. And this is really special to me today, as we've been able to really be like, hey, there's lots of different kinds of mothers out here.
Yeah.
There's lots of different kinds out here, and you can do it. And you can make the most of what is your sacred experience of motherhood, whatever it may look like. And that these children that we're entrusted to, that they have the ability to become strong and resilient. And we're just there to hold their hand. All right. We believe in you. Believe in yourselves. God bless. And we will see you in the next episode.